Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, we are from Group 5, English Specific Purpose from A class. So in this occasion, we want to presenting our material about material design. Before we get started, I want to introduce our member group. They are Devie, Novintrie, Fadillah, Nurul, Fatimah, Galuh Dwi Gustiar, Fitri Rahmatillah, and Sherin Bunga Permata. Next. So here the table of content of our presentation. Number one is defining objective, and then material design. After that, material design, model sample material, and then for application, defining the model, plus material and the syllabus. Next is using the models, a case study, and the last is conclusion. So the first material will be explained by me, Devie Novintrie, as the first presenter. So as you guys can see, the first material is defining objective. And what are material supposed to do in defining their purpose? They are several material. Number one is material provide a stimulus to learning. Good material do not teach. They encourage learners to learn, and good material will therefore contain. And they are divided by three. Number one is interesting text. Number two, enjoyable activities which engage the learners' thinking capacities. And then the last is opportunity for learners to use their existing knowledge and skills. And the last is content which both learners and teaching can cope with. Number two is material help to organize the teaching learning process. Number three is material embody a view of the nature of language and learning. And four, material reflect the nature and learning task. And in here, we have noted in previous chapters that language learning is a complex process and involving many different kinds and level of knowing and knowledge. And the five is material can have a very useful function in broadening and basis of teacher training. And the last, material can provide models of correct on our list. So just that from me, the next material will be explained by the second presenter, please.
Okay, thank you, Devie. For the next material is a materials design model. The aim of this particular model is to provide a coherent framework for the integration of the various aspects of learning, while at the same time allowing enough room for creativity and variety to flourish. The model consists of four elements. The first is input, content focus, language focus, and the task. Okay, next. Here are four elements of material design model. The first is input. This may be a text, dialogue, video recording, diagram, or any piece of communication data depending on the needs you have defined in your analysis. The input provides a number of things. The first is stimulus material for activities. The second is new language items. The third is correct models of language use. The fourth is a topic for communication. The fifth is opportunities for learners to use their information processing skills. And the last is opportunities for learners to use their exciting knowledge both of the language and the subject matter. The second is content focus. Language is not an end itself, but a means of conveying information and feelings about something. Non-linguistic content should be exploited to generate meaningful communication in the classroom. The next is language focus. The aim is to enable learners to use language, but it is unfair to give learners communicative tasks and activities for which they do not have enough of the necessary language knowledge. Good materials should involve both opportunities for analysis and synthesis. In language-focused learners have this change to take the language to pieces, study how it works, and practice putting it back together again. And the last is task. The ultimate purpose of language learning is language use. Materials should be designed, therefore, to lead towards a communicative task in which learners use the content and language knowledge they have built up through the unit. Next is the four elements combined in the model. Uh, in here, the primary focus of the unit is the task. The model act as a vehicle which leads the learners to a point where they are able to carry out the task. The language and content are drawn from the input and are selected according to what the learners will need in order to do the task. I think that's all for me. For the next presenter, please.
Okay, thank you so much for your time, Sherin. The next material is material design or sample material. The basic model can be used for material of any length. Every stage can be covered in one lesson. If the task is a small one or the whole unit might be spread over a series of lessons. This part we will show that the models look like in the practice in some of our material. Apart from the general interest that any medical matter has, the Lexis is of a very basic type that is generally applicable but literally and methodology, for example, heart pump collecting chamber or oxygen. Really, there are only two specific terms used, such as ventricle and outricle. So the text is rather pure as an illustration of general principle of fluid machine that as the medical text. As the unit title indicates, language is appropriate stroke an area of content. The topic represents a common form of technical discourse describing a circulatory system, also in this case presented from an unusual point of view. Next slide. This is an example of pumping system. About every pump is part of system for moving fluids. The human body has a system for moving bloods. How that it works. Next slide. The material is intended for lower intermediates level student from a variety of technical specialism. The topic of the blood circulation system can be of reference to a wide range of subjects. Next slide. The next material is the starter plays a number of important roles. The first point is it create a context of knowledge for the comprehension of the input. Comprehension in the ESP classroom is often more difficult than in real life because texts are taken in isolation. In the outside world, the text would normally appear in a context. According to Hans and Water 1981, which provide reference point assist understanding. Next point is it's active the learner's mind and gets them thinking. They can approach the text in an active frame of mind. The third is it arouses the learner interest in the topic, and then it reveals what the learner already know in terms of language and context. The teacher can then adjust the lesson to take this into account. It's provide a meaningful context in which to introduce new vocabulary or grammatical item. Next slide. The last part is the unusual type of input gives the opportunity for some more imaginative language work. Here, the learner have to create their own solution to a communication problem. In so doing, they use both the language and the content knowledge developed through the unit. The learners, in effect, are being asked to solve a problem using English there, rather than to do exercise about English. Given the build-up through the unit, the task should be well within the gaps of both learner and teacher. The tasks also provide a clear objective for the learner and also help to break up the often bewildering mess of the syllabus by establishing landmark of achievement. The unit can be further expanded to give the learners the chance to apply the knowledge gains to their work on situation. For example, a project for this unit could ask the learner to describe any other kinds of enclosed system, for example, air conditioner system in their own home, place of work, or field of study. Thank you so much for your time. That's enough for me.
Okay, thank you, Galuh. The next material will be explained by the next presenter, please.
Thank you, moderator, for giving me the times. And next material is refining the model. A number of possible refinements to the model can be seen in the unit here. We can relate these points to the nucleus of the model to provide an extended model like this. Next slide, please. When dealing with needs analysis, we must take account of intangible factors that relate to the learning situation, for example, learner involvement, variety, use of existing knowledge, and etc. And also the visible features of the target situations. A model must be able to ensure adequate coverage through the syllabus of all the features identified as playing a role in the development of learning. In addition to having an internal coherence, each unit must also relate effectively to the other units in the course. Next slide, please. Here are the illustrates in a simplified from how the unit models relates to the various syllabus underlying the course design. Identifying features of the model with syllabus features doesn't mean that they only play a role in that position, nor that other factors are not involved in that positions. The diagram aims to show the main focus of each element in the material. Next slide, please. We have made a wide use of model throughout these chapters. At this point, it is useful to make a cautionary distinction between two types of models, since both are used in the materials design process. Number one is predictive. This kind of model provides the generative framework within which real creativity can operate. The unit model here is of this kind. It is a model that enables to the operator to select, organize, and present the data. There is defined criteria, objective analysis and matching, and last subjective analysis. And number two is evaluative. This kind of model acts as feedback device to tell you whether you have done what you intended. The syllabus or unit interface model in figure 31 is of this kind. Typically, it is used as a checklist. Materials are written with only outline reference to the S or UE. Then, when enough material is available, The S or UE can be used to check coverage and appropriacy. If the models are used inappropriately, the materials writers will almost certainly be swamped with factors to consider that they will probably achieve little of worth. I think that's all for me, and for the next material will be presented by next presenter.
Ini bagian Anang ya di dia isian. So, thank you very much for all the presenter who have already explained the material. So the last part is conclusion. So in our presentation, we have looked in detail at one of the most characteristic features in English specific purpose works, especially in material reading. And we have presented and shown how to operate a models which put into practice a learning-centered approach to the material. And however, in concluding, we should state that for a number of reasons, material reading is the best regarded as the last resort, and when all other possibilities of providing materials have been exhausted. So, and we have to know that there is much common ground between learners and apparently very different subject specialism. And you may not find one course which completely fits the bills, but a judicious selection of units from two or more courses may cover the need of many students, and the final possibilities in to try and reduce the area of the course that will require new material. So just that from us. Thank you very much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.